Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unlock the secrets to a superior memory. And, well, it's probably not what you think. Let's just forget that whole idea that some people are just born with a photographic memory. We're going to show you how you can actually build one using the blueprints of the world's absolute best.
And to do that, we have to look at the pros, right? I'm talking about the world's top 50 memory athletes. These are people who can memorize thousands of random digits in an hour, or the exact order of multiple decks of shuffled cards in just a few minutes. I mean, it sounds completely impossible.
And that brings us to the real question, the big one. Are these people some kind of biological miracle, or are they using a strategy that, anyone could learn? Let's find out.
To get to the bottom of this, a really cool study from Radboud University Medical Center compared these elite memory athletes to a group of regular people, matched for age, intelligence, the whole thing. They wanted to peek inside their heads and see what, if anything, was different. And what they found was pretty mind-blowing. Their brains, they were fundamentally the same. No extra memory muscle, no special biological gift. The hardware was identical. But the athletes, they were running completely different software. And this really confirmed the whole thing. Their incredible ability wasn't a gift they were born with. It was the result of a specific, learnable technique, a strategy that was actually developed thousands of years ago. So, what is this ancient technique? Well, it's called the method of LUCI, though you might know it by its much cooler name, the memory palace.
The idea is just brilliantly simple. It works by tapping into something your brain is already amazing at, spatial memory. You just take a place you know like the back of your hand, your house, your walk to work, and you use specific spots within it as mental storage folders for new information. Now, this is so different from how most of us try to remember things. Simple linking, like for a list, is like a fragile chain. If one link breaks, the whole thing can just fall apart. But a memory palace, that's a robust, non-linear system. Each piece of information is in its own secure spot. So if you forget what's on the kitchen counter, you can still just mentally walk over to the sofa and see what you put there.
You can literally build your first palace right now. Let's say you want to remember a shopping list. Don't just list it. Picture a giant tomato exploding on your front door, then milk flooding your hallway, and a huge loaf of bread sitting on your couch watching TV. The weirder, the better. And it's not just for groceries. Think about the key points for your next presentation. Your opening line projected on your front door, a key statistic visualized on the kitchen counter, and your final powerful closing argument just sitting there on the sofa.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. That sounds great for memory athletes who've been practicing for years. But does this actually work for the rest of us? Well, that same study put it to the test. They took a group of total novices and trained them in the method of LUCI for just 6 weeks. And the results were, wow. The transformation was just astonishing. After only about 20 hours of practice, these ordinary people dramatically boosted their performance, forming really strong memories that lasted for a full day, not just a few minutes.
But here's the real twist. When the researchers scanned their brains with an fMRI while they were memorizing things, they found something completely unexpected. It wasn't about what parts of the brain were lighting up that was interesting. It was what was quieting down. It's a concept called neural efficiency. Before the training, the novices' brains were working like crazy, firing up all over the place just trying to hold on to the information. But after the training, their brain activity looked just like the memory athletes. It wasn't working harder, it was working smarter. It showed less but much more focused activity to get a way better result. They had basically installed a more efficient operating system in their brains. All right, so the memory palace is an incredible way to organize information efficiently. But there is a second secret weapon for making that information stick permanently. And honestly, it goes against everything we were ever taught in school. You know how it goes, right? We're all taught to think of tests as just an assessment, a final exam to measure what we already know. We study, and then the test just tells us how well we did. Well, research shows that this whole view is fundamentally flawed. In fact, it's almost completely backwards. The act of testing yourself, of pulling information out of your brain, that's actually one of the most powerful learning tools we have. It's called retrieval practice. So instead of passively rereading your notes, which, by the way, just gives you this false sense of fluency, you actively test yourself. You force your brain to go in there, find the information, and pull it out. And that effortful process is exactly what strengthens the memory, making it tougher and easier to find later on. And if you want to see just how powerful this is, get this. In a study with anatomy students, the group that used a lot of retrieval practice scored over 13 percentage points higher on their final exam. They didn't just know it better, they learned it better.
So, this is where it all comes together. The real magic, the real genius-level learning happens when we combine these two powerhouse strategies. It's not about one or the other. It's about using them together to fundamentally change how we learn.
Here's a great way to think about it. The method of LUCI, the memory palace, is like the software that builds a perfect filing cabinet for new information in your brain. It gives every piece of data a specific, logical place to go. But retrieval practice, that's the command that saves that file permanently to the hard drive, making sure it doesn't get corrupted or lost.
So what's the bottom line here? It's this. A superior memory isn't some magical gift, it's a skill you can build. First, you organize information by giving your memories a home, a memory palace. Second, you make them permanent by actively retrieving them, not just passively rereading. When you combine the palace's structure with the strengthening power of retrieval, you are using the exact blueprint of the world's best memorizers.
So that leaves us with one final thought. We spend our entire lives focusing on what to learn when maybe the real secret has always been focusing on how to learn. Now that you have the tools, what are you going to build?